traders, Raghee here. I'm going to go through my favorite picks going into next week. What's on my radar after a kind of interesting close. We trended lower all darn day long in the indices, and then the last hour of the day, seemingly what was a little bit of a profit-taking rally took on a life of its own. But as the old saying goes, don't fade Fridays, and we won't. We're going to take a look at the daily time frames in this update and see what could be setting up. And I've had this chart on the screen here since the video began, and that is the support in the NAS that I would like to buy. This is the strongest of the three indices. When we take a look at the NASDAQ, we're talking about tech, we're talking about communications, we're talking about consumer discretionary. And this is absolutely still an uptrend, which makes buy the dip, in this case, buy the lowest of the price movement range, the daily price movement range support. And frankly, we hit that today, right? But the challenge with the Friday entry is that we're subjected to the weekend, whatever news might come out, Sunday's open, and then we're not really looking at broad-based opinion until 9:30 Monday morning. And that's a tricky kind of entry to take. I don't love Friday session over the weekend entries where we're either at a small unrealized loss or a small unrealized open. I'd rather trade the other 4 trading days of the week. My preferred is Monday through Thursday, Friday being really where we start to sort of wrap up loose ends and figure out what positions are going to be taken overnight. Well, that reminds me then that we're going to continue to manage a Wednesday entry in Google. So Google is the same thing that I'm looking at in a lot of situations, which is, are we touching the daily price movement range support, right? And that's not enough. It's not enough for an indicator to say, hey, I'm at support. It really needs to be confirmed by the structure of that time frame. So this is the structure of that time frame. This is a green trend. This is bullish momentum and bullish trend, right? And as long as that's the case, that validates these buys into the DPMR. So this is what we're going to continue to take. This one we'll take into the weekend because it's at this point, these 108 calls that we bought are obviously well in the money with still some time to spare. And that's ultimately what we want to do as we wrap up this week. And then, by the way, if you're wondering, Ron, can we buy Google again? Absolutely. Every single day, we'll take a look at where these DPMRs are sitting. And if they continue to ratchet up with price, we'll just wait for one of those days where the news isn't as beneficial. The day that everyone says the Google run is over, it sinks into support, right? Like a day like this, And then we'll just buy the dip in the uptrend. In this case, the dip is volatility-based support. So that's definitely still on the radar. Another symbol on my radar is gold. When you take a look at the GC futures, is this an uptrend? Not anymore, but here's a really important distinction. If I have an uptrend, so green, right? The lower is the trend, the upper is the momentum, and we go neutral like this, my directional bias is still going to be geared towards what came before. So this is an uptrend, this is bullish chop. So once again, we went into an uptrend, and now we seem to be segueing into bullish chop. No problem. We'll look for an area around 2000 to about 1980 to either buy gold futures, MGC or GC, or we can buy some GLD calls. But I need to get down into that range, and preferably we're going to have still a very fresh neutral look, or maybe by Monday we end up kind of balancing out back into a green trend. Either way, the DPMRs are in play again, about 2000 to 1980 on GC. All right, the symbol everyone's been asking me about, ROG, what happened on silver? You know what? Sometimes the what is a little less important to me, and more so, how are we going to deal with it, right? I'm sure there's about 3 different news items that could justify what happened in silver after the fact. Well, who cares after the fact, right? The idea here is let's do the same process from the bottom up, right? Always start with the trend. This is a neutral environment now, preceded by an uptrend. By the way, gang, this is called the multi-trend, and this is how I gauge support and resistance in about as easy a traffic light way as possible. Green is bullish, yellow is neutral, red is bearish. So when yellow precedes green, right, especially a very fresh transition to yellow, it's still bullish chop. This is the makings of a minor low, and so it's the high of today's session at 24.40 that I'll be interested to see if on Monday we can trade through. That will be the completion of a minor low buy. Why a buy? A nearly oversold stochastic, but not quite. And then this pattern would indicate that after this big sell-off, there's been a pause. There wasn't another day of panic. There wasn't another day of selling. Rather, we started to sell off. We had this nice wick hanging below the candle of the body, meaning we did not close down near the lows. There's a little bit of resilience. Let's see if that resilience, that bullish momentum, can carry into Monday and take out today's high. That's the completion of the minor low. Since we already took a look at Google, let's circle back to another high concentration weighted stock in the NASDAQ futures, in the S&P futures, and also in the XLC ETF, and that's Meta. We definitely want to look at Meta. Once again, from the daily price movement range, green trend. Let's look to get long there. And then I'm going to follow up on Amazon. We talked about Amazon as well on the Tuesday free video. And absolutely, we have taken out the 200 propulsion. Finally, Amazon is at least now on the bullish side of the equator, the 200 exponential moving average. And that means if we can pull back to, say, the 108.70 area next week, that would be great. Again, we'll see where the daily price movement ranges are as we start the week, but volatility support in this very fresh uptrend north of the 200, that's exactly what I like. So there's a quick list of what it is I'm looking for going into next week. We'll dive into more detail and more symbols in the premium video. For those of you that are members of Simpler Futures and This Week in the Markets, which you can check out at thisweekinthemarkets.com, you can check out a $7 trial and have access to 4 weeks of the This Week in the Markets report. And I'll dive into a lot more of the sectors, levels, commodities, currencies, treasuries, and the stories that are moving the market right now, the bigger picture macro, data driven. You can join me there. All right, gang. And by the way, if you are a Sector Secrets Mastery member, you get This Week in the Markets with your membership. So check it out Monday morning. Be good to each other, gang. Have a great weekend. If you have any questions, you have any comments, you have any symbols, you have any requests, leave them below. I absolutely do check them out every day. A lot of you know I'll reply back even to a hey. So have a great one. Hey traders, Raghee from Simpler Trading. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like and a comment below. And remember, subscribe and click the bell icon so you'll get notified of the next update. And when you're ready to join me for live trading, be sure to head on over to simplertrading.com. I'll see you in the next update.